everybody, what's up? Killjoy Jake here, and instead of having friends, I have horror movies. Today we're going to be doing a non-spoiler review of Malignant, and also like a spoiler review later on, but I'll give you a warning before I get into that. Now before I get into this though, I'm going to need y'all to like this video and subscribe for more horror content. Also please consider supporting me on Patreon. If you support me on Patreon before October 8th, you will be credited as an executive producer on the film. If you support me on Patreon before October 8th, you will be credited as an executive producer on my new film, Red Right Hand, which of course comes out October 8th. So make sure to check that out. The link for that will be in the description below. Alrighty, now let's get into it.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Well, I'm Pennywise, the dancing clown.
Oh, no, not the beast! Not the beast!
You son of a...
God, don't do that.
Well, sometimes that is better.
So starting off with a non-spoiler review here, I really enjoyed Malignant. I think it's a really interesting film. It delves into some insane concepts. It's so much more than the giallo slasher that it kind of advertises itself to be. It explores so many different things throughout. There's so many crazy twists that honestly I loved all the twists. A lot of them I didn't see them coming. There's kind of a big one that's very blatantly obvious. I'm not going to say any more than that. But besides that, there's a lot of fun stuff to be had in this film. I think overall it's a really fun movie. It's got some really cool stuff, but it also has some really low points, man. The middle of the movie kind of turns into a crime drama out of nowhere, which is, it's such a sinking point for me. The beginning of the movie is so strong. That first like 5 minutes is this crazy scene. I don't want to say any more than that, but it feels like the opening to Reanimator. Reanimator initially, like, I've never seen a movie that establishes its tone so quickly, more quicker than Reanimator. Reanimator like is right in your face immediately in that first like 3-4 minute scene. The same thing with this film. Like, it gets in your face so quickly. It's so tense right from the get-go. I love it. I love how this film starts. I love how the Reanimator starts. The problem is, though, this film tries to do so much, it kind of gets muddled along the way. And because of that, it feels really, like, quirky and clunky. I don't know. It has so many good things going for it. I really did enjoy it, but, like, if you would have cut out maybe, like, 20 minutes of the movie, you would have had a 10 out of 10 film here. But because you left some of those things in, like a very obvious reference to Insidious, like I said, there's like this the whole crime drama bit in the middle. You cut all that out, you have a 10 out of 10 film. But because you didn't, it ranges from like a 7.5, I would give it probably. I genuinely don't know what I can say about this film anymore without spoiling it, so I am moving into some spoiler territory here. If you have not seen it yet, go check it out on HBO Max or go see it in the theaters. Talking some spoilers though, so if you haven't seen the film, last warning. This is it. This is the last warning for you. I love the concept of Gabriel. That is the strongest part of this whole movie to me. The twist that he's like inside the back of her head, and like the fact that like her crazy husband that dies at the beginning of the movie pushed her against the wall, and then that is the reason why Gabriel reawakens and was like feeding off of like her fetuses and shit. Like, it's fucking crazy. I love it. That is the strongest part of this movie. Props to Akela Cooper, Ingrid Bisu, which is a hard name to say, and James Wan for coming up with the story for this movie. Easily the strongest part. Such an original idea. I absolutely loved that. Unfortunately, there was a lot of things about the film I just didn't love, though. Like I said, in that middle part, there's just this whole, like, crime drama bit that, like, I just feel like it kind of comes out of nowhere, but it's also, like, a giallo movie, so, like, you're gonna have that. I felt like it was a little unnecessary, though. There's also this, like, whole sequence where they're, like, trying to, like, use hypnotherapy on Madison, the main character, and I just, like, it felt so irrelevant. There were so many dumb horror tropes that this movie just had to touch on that I felt like you could have skipped over. James Wan is a master at taking, like, old horror tropes and kind of like twisting them in a new direction. Like, for example, the entire concept of Insidious is taking an old concept of like the haunted house and the demon talking to the kid and running around the house doing horrible things. He takes that idea and makes it totally different, which is why I appreciate Insidious so much. It's one of my favorite horror films. I love it. The third act of Insidious is one of the scariest things I've ever seen. It made me shit my pants when I was a kid, just straight up. This movie took things from like haunted house films from like all dating back to like the Amityville horror movies. Like, it took stuff from that and just did the exact same thing, which was just such a letdown to me. But at the same time, this is a tough movie to write because you have to have that scene where they like go back and look at the footage of Madison when she was like a younger kid, her actual name is Emily, her birth name at least. And you got to see that, like, that thing is attached to the back of her head with the little, like, vestigial arms and shit. That was so gross. I loved that. The body horror was really unexpected, too. Big plus for that. But you had to have that scene of her talking to Gabriel or whatever, and it's like, oh, no one's really there. Oh, that's so scary. No, we've seen that a million times in so many different haunted house movies. But you did have to have that to have the reveal later on that they were looking at tapes and they find that the tape of Emily with the fucking thing coming out of her head. I understand why they did that, but to me it's just like, oh my god, I had to suffer through like minutes, just like these long, excruciating minutes of just watching the same old play out on screen. And that was like kind of a letdown to me. I was expecting a lot more from James Wan, but at the same time, I do really appreciate this film for being so wildly different. Despite some really slow parts though, this movie also has some fucking amazing twists. The mother being tied up in the attic, I did not see that coming at all. When she falls through that roof, dude, that blew my mind. I'm like, what? You were in the house? I honestly thought his like lair or whatever was in like that underground Seattle shit that they were talking about earlier, and I'm like, I wonder where that is. It's gotta be, it has something to do with this other character who we don't know who it is, and it ended up being like her mother. Like, what? That was awesome. That was a great twist. The twist of the whole body horror thing, I kind of saw that coming from a mile away. I mean, the movie's called Malignant, which is a term they commonly use with like tumors and like cancer cells and shit. So like, I figured it had to do with something like attached to her, but I didn't think they were going the body horror route. That was the shock of that. That was the twist there for me, at least. I really appreciated that as well. It wasn't as big of a twist as the thing I just talked about, but it was still really cool. The camera work was also phenomenal. The cinematography was fucking beautiful throughout this whole film. Like, there's this one shot especially, like one of my favorite shots of the entire film was like this down shot. It's literally like a down shot looking at like the whole set piece of Madison's house as she's running through it trying to escape like the Gabriel or whatever, the ghost. That was really cool. Great cinematography throughout. There's so many other things I'm not even talking about, like just shots from the movie that I was so impressed by. The giallo lighting, very like similar to like Suspiria. You got the red lighting, the green light, like these very vibrant colors on screen that like throughout the entire movie. Sorry if I'm kind of rambling. I'm pretty exhausted. I've made so many videos in the past 10 days or so, and I am working on the movie simultaneously, so I am just exhausted right now. I really did like Malignant though. I really think this was an interesting film with some very, very unfortunate low points. I see this movie becoming like a huge cult classic. I feel like in a couple of years we're going to be talking about it again. There is definitely something there. There is something that to really appreciate and love there, but there's also a lot to hate, unfortunately. What did you guys think about Malignant? Honestly, I can see people going either way with this film, loving it or hating it because of how complicated and weird it is, but I love it because of that complication and the weirdness. Leave me something about it in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching my review of Malignant. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more horror content. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm most active on my Twitter at KilljoyJake1, so make sure to follow me there. Please consider supporting me on Patreon as well. The link for that will be in the description below, and as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.